All right. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to our Kids Health presentation this afternoon. I am joined by Coach Heidi and Coach Leanne. Leanne, would you like to open us up with some icebreakers?
Yeah, so thank you everybody for joining. So today we're going to be talking about, kids' health. We're going to cover several different things, but I thought I would open up with just a couple of icebreakers. The first one is, if your pregnancy cravings or like your favorite food were your child or your children's names, like what would it be? So I would have Cinnabon, Lucky Charms, and ice cream. um, I didn't eat the best when I was pregnant, so my kids, all of their names are related to sweets. So if you guys want to just like type in the chat if you have your answers, and maybe we can all get a good little giggle. And then Suzanne, do you want to take number 2? Why don't you answer number 2?
Okay. Yeah, sure. I was going to say I'm completely opposite with you on number 1. My favorite foods are salty. So let's see. What's one thing that your child or your children do that is just like you or your spouse? Well, my 7-year-old, I have to laugh because I don't know where she gets it from, but the way that she rolls her eyes when daddy thinks he's funny, I do the same thing. So it's so hilarious to watch her do that.
Aw. Do you want to take the last one, Heidi?
Sure. What is your favorite outdoor activity to do as a family? I know it doesn't sound like much of an activity, but we love walking the dogs because they typically walk us. But one thing that we have a lot of here is we have a lot of small lakes that they have created trails and different things around. So we like to trail, walk, ride bikes, all that kind of stuff. So we're big outdoorsy trail goers.
Awesome. That's cool. We like to take walks outside too. So just a little disclaimer here. We just want to let you know that none of these statements have been evaluated by the FDA. This is not intended to diagnose, to treat, to cure, or prevent disease. This is education focused, and we hope that you walk away today learning something new and hopefully some new healthy habits that you can incorporate into your everyday life. Okay. So today our goal is to learn about kids' health in general, what other bodies need, tools and ways to develop healthy habits. And then starting off, we're going to talk about your role as, the mother, the dad, the grandparent, the caretaker, what your role is in that process. We're going to touch on topics like exercise, nutrition, and screen time. So first and foremost, mothers often serve as the ambassadors for the health and wellness of their family. And I say mothers, I know that there are dads out there, and I know that they contribute too. I'm definitely not, discounting their role. But for the next couple of things, there is a lot of scientific evidence and a lot of research done on the relationships between mother and child and how those can affect these habits. So you'll see me mentioning mothers a lot. But if you think about it, they are the ones who, start the beginning. You are the one who carries the child. It comes from you first. Inside, you're the one who nourishes it from the very beginning. So what they found out is that mothers who prioritize health while they're pregnant, it directly impacts the health of their babies when they're born. Mothers who exercised, the babies had greater coordination and healthier cardiac activity. In the study that I read, it said that when the mom's heart beat and she's getting that cardio exercise and that cardio work, the baby's heartbeat will speed up as well. So we know the heart's a muscle. So it makes sense to see that while the babies are in the womb, like they're getting that work too. And also your eating habits directly affect your baby, obviously, because you're taking in the nutrients, you're, growing your baby. So it's important to make sure that you have, balanced, healthy choices during your pregnancy so that you can carry on those habits through your life. So children are always looking for you. The imitation is a form of flattery for adults, but for babies, it's the very first way that they learn. If you think about when your baby's little, they mimic speech, they mimic your movements. And as they grow, they mimic your habits. They're your little mirrors for good or for bad. And that is such a powerful gift that we have to give them. You have the opportunity to be that healthy mirror, to be that healthy role model, and instill those healthy habits into your children. So according to a study published by the American Academy of Pediatrics, the less physically active a mother is, the more likely her child will be sedentary early in life. Researchers found a direct correlation in physical activity among mothers and their kids. A child that engaged in more physical activity if their mother made exercise a priority. Unfortunately, only 53% of the mothers that were enrolled in this study actually met the daily recommended requirement of exercise. But the good news is that an increase in the mother's physical activity will benefit both the mother, her health benefits, and the child. A child who has one obese parent has a 50% chance of growing up and being obese themselves. When both parents are obese, the children have an 80% chance of obesity. And they're going to talk, the other ladies are going to talk a little bit later and give some more statistics and just about how childhood obesity has become such an issue here in the US. So findings suggest, this was another one that I found on the Academy of American Pediatrics website, was this one too. So findings suggest that maternal and paternal obesity are each associated with specific delays in early childhood and development. So not only does your child have a risk of obesity, but also your child has a risk of being developmentally delayed. The skills that they tested here compared to their other peers were problem solving, fine motor skills, and socialization skills. And the kids whose parents had a lower BMI did better than the children whose parents were obese. So again, children, they are monkey see, monkey do. That is how children learn. That's their first way. They learn through imitation. And also the first foods that they're ever going to put in their mouth, you are the ones who have control over that. You're going to introduce them to them. So it's very important. And it's also a great tool that you have that you can introduce those healthy foods from the very beginning and getting them used to eating them and liking them and enjoying them and incorporating it into their lives. So again, mothers' diets have the biggest influence on children eating healthy. The results of this study showed that toddlers were less likely to consume fruits and vegetables 4 more times a week if their mothers didn't consume that amount, or if their mothers viewed them as picky eaters and, well, my child doesn't eat this, my child doesn't eat that, my child's picky. They were also shown to not eat as many fruits and vegetables. What and how mothers eat is the most direct influence on what toddlers eat. So it's an important thing to keep in mind. Again, like you're their little mirror, they are looking to you. How does mom eat? How, does mom eat vegetables? Is she picky? So it's like so important, and also like such a powerful thing that you have that much influence over your child's eating habits for the rest of their lives. Um, Again, I say it a lot. Children are your mirror. And even with screen time and media use, there's a direct correlation there between how much mom and dad spend, looking at the screens, and how much their kids are going to spend looking at the screens. So that's another mindful thing that we need to, um, keep in mind when we have those habits and how we use them around our kids. So again, this study as well, children mirror their parents or their caregivers' media use. They also noted that there can be developmental and behavioral issues when the parents or the caregivers are using media or on their phones at an increased amount compared with those who had parents who did not stay on their phones a lot around their kids. And also, it showed that the parents were less reactive and less responsive to their child's emotional and developmental needs. And I just want to note in the study that they did say, everyone has the time when, your kid sits down and watches the TV or, watches YouTube. But the researchers' point was they wanted it to be limited and your time limited as well. So your kids can see how to use media, use tablets, use computers in a responsible manner. And then one other note they wanted to say was that the kids are spending like hours watching TV, playing video games. That also means that they're not getting the adequate amount of exercise. And it also means that they're more likely to just like sit, scroll, and snack, because that's another habit that adults tend to have. So the number one ingredient for a healthy child is a healthy mother. So it starts with you. And I think now Heidi is going to take over and talk to us a little bit more about some tips and some tools and ways that we can implement those healthy habits that I was talking about.
Awesome. Thanks, Leanne. So yeah, keeping our kids active is critical. And just like Leanne referenced multiple times, we play the most influential role in how active our kids are. She did quote a stat that said that for adults, it's 30 minutes. For kids, it's a lot more. Their little bodies need so much more activity to burn off that excess energy, to build those muscles. They're in a completely different place than we are. So encouraging them to keep active is really a very vital and critical thing that we can do to keep our kids healthy. So I break it down into 3 elements of fitness. And the easiest way that I can explain these is, one is endurance. That's like when kids are playing tag and they're running for long periods of time because they don't want to be it. So it's that, endurance piece. It's them being able to keep up with their friends, for them to run long distances and keep that play up for a long period of time. The next one is just simply strength. Crossing monkey bars, being able to hold their own body weight. Strength is a huge thing for them moving forward, and that's going to be critical again as we kind of talk about some of these other areas and the importance of health and fitness for our kids. The last one is flexibility. Can they bend down and touch their toes? Can they reach up and grab a jar? Flexibility is not to be negated. It is one of the most important things. That's why we always tell, in exercise classes, stretch, stretch, stretch. Stretching is important. It's important to keep that flexibility. Our muscles become atrophied. If we don't use them, we lose them. So those are the 3 main things that I want you to think about as you think of activities and how to challenge your child to be active. Are they, being pushed endurance wise? Do they have the strength to hold their own body weight? And can they bend down and touch their toes? Parents should encourage their kids to do a variety of things every single day. Just like Leanne said, multiple times, monkey see, monkey do. You know, getting out there with the kids, putting on your coat, stepping outside, letting them know that it's okay to get cold every once in a while as we head into the winter season. It's vital to keep your body active and moving. Again, parents should encourage them to get enough exercise. Kids and teens need at least 60 minutes or more of moderate to vigorous exercise every single day. I would encourage more. I would encourage, those 30-minute breaks in between, playing a game indoors, or, some of that screen time that we're going to talk about. And for a lot of people, this virtual school situation has, made our kids even sit more because they're having to sit for longer periods of time in front of a screen. So taking those breaks and getting that total body workout is what I call it, from everything from running around the back of the yard to, climbing on a swing set to walking the dogs, anything that you can do. We recommend that toddlers and preschool children should play several times throughout their day. So breaking that up, giving them things, adult-led physical activities, unstructured play, letting them kind of run free every once in a while. And kids, this is super important, should never sit for more than an hour at a time unless they're sleeping. So us as adults, we get used to sitting in front of our computer screens. I even have my watch go off and remind me, get up, Heidi, get up, go do something. Even if I just stand up at my desk, you see, I've got all my workout gear in here. That's because sometimes during calls and stuff, I'll sit and I'll pull out my mat, I'll, stretch, I'll do different things. Just remember that it is vital and super important that we do that for our kiddos too. Aerobic exercise. So I just wanted to give you a quick list of things that is that endurance piece. That's the piece where they're increasing their heart rate. They're using their large muscle groups. So, they're using their legs, they're using their arms, they're using their core, all of those things that are vital as they get older. Their heart rate increases, they start to breathe a little heavier. And it really does a lot of things, not just for their muscles, but for their heart, and it strengthens the entire body, and it helps them be able to control oxygen levels a lot better, so that endurance piece means quicker recoveries when they're exercising and different things. They're not as winded for longer periods of time. So this is just a quick list, things like basketball, ice skating, soccer, swimming, tennis. And obviously we can't do these year round, but try and find ones that are applicable during the different parts of the year. Raising fit kids. This is definitely a challenge, I think, for each and every parent, because there's so many outside influences and sources for kids to eat unhealthy, find themselves being sedentary in front of screens. Just a lot of things, I think, that have continued to change as we evolve as a society, that are giving our kids way more time to become less active and eat unhealthy. So here are some simple tips that I found to be helpful. Just remembering that creating ways of play that are age appropriate. Something that for a 2-year-old is going to be boring for a 7-year-old. Something a 7-year-old can do, a 2-year-old can't do. So remember age appropriate activities. Setting a regular schedule, kind of what I talked about earlier. If they are doing virtual school, set those times where they're on the computer for so long, they take a 30-minute break. They're on the computer for an hour, they take a 30-minute break. Same thing with watching TV. If you guys are enjoying a movie, when the movie's over, get up and go do something. Make being active a part of daily life, so that they think they feel like it's just routine. I hate elevators in general, so I always take the stairs. So my kids have always taken the stairs, because I'm not going to send them up an elevator when I'm not there, But anytime you can park in the back of a parking lot, take that time to walk, enjoy talking to your kids, connect with them on a lot of different issues or subjects. And just embrace a healthier lifestyle for yourself, so you can be that positive role model. Being active as a family. Kids are more active, again, to do if you're doing. Sorry, that's my dog. And then just encouraging them to go outside, set up play dates, walks around the neighborhood. But first and foremost, keep it fun. If you're having fun, your kids are going to have fun, and they're going to be excited the next time that you say, hey, let's go outside. So with that, we'll go to our next section here. And I believe that that is going to be Miss Suzanne.
Yes, awesome. Thank you, ladies. Oh my gosh, so much great information. And just the fact that you speaking about physical exercise, I remember when my girl was about 4, we like to just go to parks, right? We don't have to do big hikes or anything like that, but we were outside, and then we like to do like, you know, run to the next sign or whatever. And so we did a little sprint, and she looked at me and she put her hand on her heart. She said, "You feel that?" And I said, "What?" "That pounding." I said, "Yeah, it's your heart. You just ran." And she was so ecstatic about it, and her heart rate got up, and it was just such a teachable moment and so cool to even connect with your body as well. And you know, I love family wellness. I'll coach, I'll help anybody, but it's really a family effort. And if you have 2 spouses or partners, or even if 2 sisters are living together or whatever, you know, it's always good to have somebody doing things with you. And so all of this information is great to share with you, the parent, the mother, the father, the older sister that's taking care of the children, whatever. Or maybe, you know, sharing this with a teenager or a child who is interested about learning how to take care of him or herself, because it's really a back and forth. I don't know. Do we teach the adults to influence the children, or do we teach the children so that they can help the adults too? Because a lot of us, we just do. I think, Heidi, you mentioned that just society is changing, right? And it's so hard sometimes to make changes, right? Nobody, you know, you don't always want to get up and go work out. Neither does your child, you know? And so sometimes we have to say, like our boy, he's like, "I don't want to." And then, but once we get him outside, he's fine and he loves it. And, you know, we just have to keep changing things. So that physical activity is so important. Eating the right foods is so important to just nourish your body. We want that development, right? We want the brain development. We want the physical development. We want the positive mood that comes from nourishing your body. And unfortunately, more than 95% of all preventable chronic diseases are caused by a combination of poor food choices, being sedentary, right, not working out, and nutritional deficiencies. So it's not just what you're putting in your body, but it's also what you're not putting in your body and what you and your children, in this case today, are missing. Unfortunately, 1 out of 3 children are obese today, and the obesity rate has tripled over the past few years. And we do see here by Mayo Clinic that it's preventable, right? You can resolve it within months. You can self-treat and you can self-diagnose. So, you know, are you where you want to be? Are your children where are they where you want them to be? And Leanne, I love that slide. And that's one thing that I teach when I teach about blood sugar for families, is that if one parent is overweight, right, the child has a 50% chance of being overweight or obese. But if both parents are, then those children are really likely, they're 80% or more likely. And really that's because that's influence, right? That's our lifestyle. So we are talking about lifestyle today. We're talking about nutrition, screen time, because that's just so prevalent right now, right? And movement. Unfortunately, there's a huge association between obesity and chronic disease. Again, it's what we're putting into our body and what we're missing, right? What we're deficient in. It's the lack of movement, the heightened stress, so many factors. So cardiovascular disease is on the rise for children and adults alike, and it is preventable. Hypertension or high blood pressure is on the rise. Type 2 diabetes. We used to have adult onset diabetes. Now we have type 3 or children onset diabetes. So it's not happening when we're 40, 50, 70 years old anymore. It's happening in children. So your bone health decreases and your strength decreases, right? Like I broke my arm when I was, I think, in 3rd grade, and it healed in a matter of weeks. Now children are breaking their arm and they don't heal as quickly as they used to. And it all has to do with the nutrients in the body and the strength of the muscles and the tendons and ligaments all throughout the body. Iron deficiency is one of the most common deficiencies. So pregnant mothers too, right? That's iron deficiency is high at that level too. And so as the other ladies had mentioned, whatever you're doing starting with pregnancy is going to pour into your children. Tooth decay, not just because of the sugar. Unfortunately, I have a family member who they love sugar and it's addictive, right? But those children are going to have teeth decay for sure. And dentists are really, really seeing the heightened tooth decay in children. And unfortunately too, eating disorders are on the rise, right? There's many influences in that, but you know, I've heard a child before look at a bottle of mustard under 10 years old, and he said, "Oh, there's no calories in this mustard." Well, 10-year-old, 9-year-old children don't know anything about calories unless they've been influenced by an adult, which means that adult was dieting, right? And so, as they've said, as Heidi and Leanne said, they are our mirrors, right? Everything that you do and say, right? If you mess up and say a swear word, they do the same thing. They don't know. So how are we mentally and emotionally raising our children around food as well? So we do know that intakes of the levels of calcium, fiber, magnesium, vitamins A, C, E, and iron. There's a concern for these levels in children. The food isn't what it used to be, right? As far as the dense soil and the crop rotation and the need for consumption of the humans, but also we're not eating vegetables, right? How many of you adults on this call, on this webinar, are having difficulties getting your children to eat the vegetables, right? So how can we get those nutrients in our children without having a fight? And one thing, I think, I don't remember who said it, and that's okay, but one of you ladies said that the children, probably Leanne, that the children will eat whatever you feed them, starting with their beginning ages. And my sister lived with me until her first child was 8 months old. And when he was a baby, he was crawling around with broccoli in his hand. He wasn't crawling around with lollipops or with cookies. It was broccolis, vegetables, and fruits. And that's because that's what we had for that baby. And so that's what he grew up on, right? So we're also consuming way too many calories with saturated fats, sugars, salts. Fats, sugars, and salts are very highly addictive. And so we want to eat whole natural fats, sugars, and salts within certain guidelines. So what can we do? What can we do as parents and as mothers and as caretakers? We can have some fun with all of this, right? Make exercise, make nutrition, make homework, right? Make everything fun. Now, I don't know if this is you. If I did this, it would be at an Airbnb or a VRBO, right? So somebody else can clean up that mess. That's not my type of fun in my home, but that would be really fun, right? And the cookie season is coming up. So let's find age appropriate and what are you willing to do with your children in the home? And maybe it's just simple as like wearing an apron. That is a memory that I have baking and cooking with my grandma all the time, was that we had aprons. I don't know why it was so cool, but it's just what she did. So we did the same thing. But what can your children do to help you in the kitchen, right? When they help you, they have some investment in that and ownership in that, right? So I don't know if this is gonna work. Let's see. All right, you guys have to tell me, can you hear this? Hold on.
Oh my goodness, I had to watch this like 10 times.
Can you hear it?
Yes.
I won't play a lot, but look at this. Just watch this child. And he throws everything.
It's not good yet. 3.
That's it.
So, and can you see my screen again? My PowerPoint?
Yeah.
Okay, so, you know, that is just so fun. If you have the patience to do what this grandma had to clean up the mess later, do that. But maybe you just want them to pour the raisins in the cookie batter. They can do that. You know, my kids love measuring things out, and then I get to teach them math, right? Math and science, or even the chemical change of the products or solids, you know, when you're melting butter, you're melting coconut oil. You know, if there's knives that, you know, they can use sharp knives if they're old enough, but then there's those safety knives too, right? Those plastic type of knives. I don't know what they're called, but they can cut lettuce and different things like that. They can mix up the salad or the bean salad, right? Or they can rinse the beans in the sink. Maybe they like to set the table. Maybe they want to serve the dinner, right? They think they're so special when they can help you. Maybe they want to do the dishes. I'm not quite for that yet, but my husband is. So our son does the dishes. You know, so whatever they can do to have ownership, you're going to teach them life skills. After a while, you can pull yourself back too. So you'll have one less chore to do as the mother in the house. We can also encourage them to make healthy choices. So what color apples do they want? Do they like the red or the green? Let them pick. Who cares, right? I'll say to the kids, because they know they need a vegetable for their dinner. So do you want carrots or broccoli? Neither. Well, okay. Do you want carrots or broccoli? Carrots. Okay. So we have carrots and they chose. They have ownership in choosing the carrots. What types of potatoes? Heidi, I saw the other day with your grandchildren, they wanted French fries. So you guys cut up the potatoes and cook them in your air fryer, or even with a little bit of oil in the oven works too. It's way better than deep fried, recycled peanut pro-inflammatory oil that we're buying out at the store with loads and loads of sodium. You know, do you want your fruit, your vegetable, do you want your chicken diced, or do you want to pick it up with your finger? You know, do you want to use a fork? Something as simple as that. And older kids too can make these types of choices. You know, do you guys want to make cookies or brownies for dessert, right? Sometimes we like to go outside when the weather is nice and have a picnic. So you can go to the park and have a picnic. You can go on your front porch and have a picnic, right? And eating together is really important too for a family. You can also model healthy eating habits yourself because they are following you and mimicking you. So, you know, the kids are going to watch us fill up our plate. And you know, you are an adult, so you can pick your own diet. But when we're in front of our kids, as Leanne mentioned, if you're putting vegetables on your plate, they too know that they need to do that because that's what mommy does or daddy does or whoever. And so we tell our kids, and the way I coach and teach is that if the food was once alive, we can have it. We can talk about choices and treats later, you know, but you want to put the life and the energy and the enzymes into your body. And if we're missing out on these nutrient dense, rich and alive foods, we are going to, and we are experiencing developmental delays in our children. We are experiencing neurological imbalances and disorders in our children, attention issues with our children. And food is first. Food is a huge, huge component of wellness. So stay hydrated with water as well. Water is going to flush out the toxins in your body. It's going to give you energy. If you're dehydrated, your metabolism is slower and your energy is slower and your brain power is slower. So if you're on the call and you're not drinking enough water throughout the day, 80 ounces, maybe 2 liters or so, increase your water. And maybe you could make a pitcher of fruit infused water and let the kids decide, do you want mint or strawberries or cucumbers? You know, and then everybody, when we make a pitcher of water in our home, everybody, that pitcher is gone within the day. Whereas we're filling up our water cups. And I'll just tell the kids, drink your water, or we'll get to our location in the car. And I'm like, all right, everybody drink your water. And then we get out and we go. Take your vitamins. Let your children see that you're nourishing your body with quality vitamins and, you know, that you're not taking. How many kids do you know that are like, I'm sick, I need medicine? Well, that's because they've seen what, you know, somebody taking medicine. So we want to nourish our body. Sit down to eat instead of being stressed out and running and rushing and throwing food in your mouth, which could happen from time to time. But as a rule of thumb, as we're role modeling, let's pause and take a moment to sit down and eat with mindfulness, right? We're not eating and playing games on the TV or computer or, you know, multitasking or just, you know, overeating. Sometimes as adults, when we skip meals, we get over hungry and then we overeat, unfortunately. And so we want eating to be an enjoyable time for us and for our family. So while we're focusing on what we should include, we should also focus on what we need to limit or eliminate, your choice. Caffeine, especially for children. Let's bring the focus back to children. Caffeine it can have many negative impacts on your child's health. So things like coffee, chocolate, some teas, energy drinks, sodas, all of those things have caffeine in there. Juice doesn't. Juice should go with sugars. But I mean, I see children drinking soda out of a sippy cup. I see high schoolers having a Coke first thing in the morning. Teachers do it too, right? So again, they're modeling and they're being influenced by you. Our kids like to drink hot and cold teas. We do caffeine free, and we don't have chocolate past noon or 2 o'clock because of the caffeine content, and caffeine has a half-life of about 4 to 6 hours. Processed or refined foods, such as the foods in this picture, right? They're nutrient void, simply stated. They're not nourishing your body, and so you still feel hungry, and they're pro-inflammatory. So they're going to cause that series of ailments down the road. And then sugars and sweeteners. We do need sugar in our body, but we have fruit for that. And if we bake at home, that's our choice of sugars and sweeteners too, but we don't put sugar in anything. We don't eat candy except for a piece or two for Halloween or the holidays, too much sugar, again, is pro-inflammatory. Excuse me. And then sodium, about 1,000 to 1,500 on the adult side, milligrams of sodium a day is our adequate intake. And so when we're eating things like hamburgers or French fries from a fast food joint, we're getting our sodium intake from that one meal. Boxed foods, processed foods, if you're pulling boxes out of your pantry and cooking and preparing with those, you're putting a lot of sodium in your diet that way too. So smoothies for kids, I had to throw this in here because this has been coming up so much with so many parents I've been talking to. One in particular, a mother that I've been speaking to, her child won't eat. He's a picky eater. They don't highlight that because they don't want him to think that. But so she makes smoothies in the morning with avocados and proteins and spinach. And she told me frozen broccoli. I've never done frozen broccoli before, so I'm going to do that tomorrow, I think. But this way you can decide, you can put in a bunch of different nutrients in the shake and let them make their own shake too. Look how much he enjoys this pumpkin shake. And actually I threw in a scoop of pumpkin and he was really mad at me for doing that, but he downed the shake because it was already a pumpkin shake with cinnamon and nutmeg and all that kind of stuff. But the pumpkin had added vitamin A's and fibers in it, and he loved it. And so now that he knows that he liked it, we can do it again, right? So shakes are just such a great way to get quality nutrients and loads of nutrients in the body. So we can share more recipes with you on that if you want some different concoctions. We can talk about swapping out regular pasta for lentil pasta. There's black bean pasta, there's lentil pasta, there's chickpea flour pasta. So you just have to try a few and see which consistency you and your family like. And we dress it up the same as regular pasta. We like dried beans. We like fava beans. We like pumpkin seeds instead of crunchy, salty chips, right? We still get that crunchy and salty in there. We like to make smoothies with coconut oil, coconut milk, and put them in the freezer instead of eating store-bought ice cream. You can make homemade dressings. That's another fun concoction, kind of thing to do. You need an oil, a vinegar. You could put a sweetener in there like a fruit. Or some herbs and spices in there so you can make your own. Always opt for the fruit instead of the fruit juice. Fruit has fiber and the juice does not. The juice only has sugar, and now juice is marketed to have vitamins in there, but with the lack of fiber, you are impacting your blood sugar. Applesauce is a great alternative for heavy oils or pro-inflammatory oils in baking. Nut butters, almond butters, cashew butter, even if you have allergies, I think it's sun butter, you could do that. Peanut butter is fine, but I put this in here for people who might be, parents who might be concerned with inflammation in your children. Peanuts are in the legume family and they may cause inflammation. And then some cereals now, still for a treat, some cereals now are made with beans and natural dyes from foods like beets, for instance, instead of your traditional heavy pro-inflammatory. You can see all these unhealthy foods cause inflammation, and inflammation is kind of the starting point of disease for the family. So let's transition into screen time.
Wonderful. Thanks, Suzanne. A lot of good information there. I just to refer back for a brief minute before we jump in there about, last night we made homemade chicken nuggets and fries because I asked, what do you guys want for dinner? Oh, let's go to McDonald's. Let's go. I mean, they see it all the time, no matter whether we inherently buy it for them, they're exposed to these things. And I'm like, you know what, let's make them from at home. And they're like, okay. So we made them. And one, it was a super fun activity. to get them involved. It was a little messy, but that's okay. It can be cleaned up. But then when we were eating it, my 6-year-old granddaughter, she's the why kid right now. So it's why this, why that, why this, why that. And it can wear you out, but I love the inquisitiveness. So she was like, well, why did we make it? Why did we do this? So it gave me an opportunity to explain why we did that. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, so let's jump into that screen time that we have referenced a few times. Leanne had a great slide that just, our kids will mimic us from the get-go. Our kids are exposed so much more than what we were, in good ways sometimes, because it gives them an opportunity to screen time with grandparents that may live far away, or, friends during quarantine, when we were all self-isolated at home. It gave them that connection. But again, it's still screen time. We're still, imposing that type of activity to our kids versus being outdoors, being interactive, playing a board game. It's play a game on your phone. Or, instead of going outside, they're, playing these games that take them to these other worlds, instead of exploring things outside. Right now with a lot of the virtual learning, whether that be mandated or, a lot of families chose to keep their kids at home to educate them virtually. Screen time is at an all-time high. A recent study that was done by the Kaiser Family Foundation, and this was actually before COVID. So these numbers don't reflect anything that's COVID based at this time, but how much screen time do kids get? And I call it screen time versus lean time, because lean time is anytime we're active, we're moving our bodies, we're doing different things. Because screen time obviously is sedentary. You're sitting in front of a laptop, you have, an iPad in your hand, you have your phone. In most cases, we don't want our kids moving around with that kind of, device, because they can break, they can be dropped. They're very expensive. So they're encouraged to sit at a table, sit at a desk, or sit on the couch with their iPads or iPhones. So in some cases, kids that are, 8 to 10 years old are spending 7.5 hours in front of a screen. And those types of screen hours were from watching TV, playing video games, surfing the web, anything like that was non-school related. Kids 11 to 14, this one shocked me, 9 hours. I honestly thought the teenagers would be higher, but teenagers have more school functions that they participate in. So their hours actually start to go down as they get older, because they're required for more practices and things like that to be off of those screens. But that was a startling number to me. And I thought I had to sit really and think about this. Why is that? Why is that number so high? And I have kids that span a large age range. My oldest is 12 years older than my youngest. So my older kids did not have iPads. They did not have, they had VCR. They had a TV that had the VCR built in it. Does anybody remember those? That, like, if one thing broke, the whole thing was broke, kind of a thing. But they had one of those, and they were allowed on Friday nights, we watched a movie, and that was kind of our thing. But my 17-year-old now, which is my youngest, she's got a laptop, an iPad Pro, a phone, and a netbook from school. 4 devices that are hers and hers alone. So when I got to thinking about it, that number shouldn't startle any of us. It's just a reality check that, once again, we just live in a completely different era. And this is something that is super near and dear to my heart. It's something that when my grandkids are over, they're not allowed to have their devices. They set them on the table, and that's where they stay, unless they want to call mom or dad or something like that. But for the most part, no devices in Oma's house. Things that we can do to alleviate screen fatigue. I obviously know that screens are not going away, that there are going to be times where kids are going to be on them. There are some good games out there with school going virtually again, whether it's by choice or you're mandated to do so, you're going to have kids that have a lot of screen time regardless. And screen fatigue, I know we all experience as an adult, and we have different coping mechanisms. Imagine those small, tiny little brains and bodies just kind of going on 9 hours a day being in front of a screen. So when you think about that, think about ways that you can incorporate some of these things to alleviate the fatigue that comes along with that. And that's where it comes in. Don't let them sit on a screen for longer than an hour. Get out and take those 20, 30-minute active breaks where they're either running around the house if it's cold outside, or if it's raining, or, getting a jump rope. I have jump ropes out in the garage, and the kids love coming in here and like having jump offs. Anything that you can do to get their heart rate up, get them active, again, get them away from that screen. Stimulate the brain in other ways. Play word games, play memory games, play, hide and seek, make them think about things. Reducing unnecessary screen time. Obviously now with the school taking up a lot of that screen time, finding other ways to reduce the other portions of that on social, limiting social media. There's even ways that you can set timers on their phones that will disable after a certain amount of time. Or if you want to incentivize them to earn time with a chore that's completed at home, they can earn 15 minutes of screen time. If they put away the dishes, like Suzanne was talking about with her son, do the dishes, sure, you can have 15 minutes of screen time for doing the dishes. Again, it's kind of that balancing system. And then ways to protect. Protecting the brain. Suzanne talked a lot about food, and that sometimes our food that we get even at our local grocers just aren't what they used to be. But these are some things that we can consume that can help protect our brains, like omega fatty acids found in salmons, nuts, eggs, things like that. And then just protecting their eyes are going to be super critical. I have 2 of these lovely pairs of UV blocking glasses. I have fun ones, and I have, kind of just brown everyday ones. But I wear them because I sit in front of a computer screen a lot. So that's one way that we can help protect their eyes, is wearing that protective eyewear. Turning down the brightness on a screen. Most kids have it jacked way up. Now on a lot of the iPhones and things, there's something called dark mode that really helps kind of protect those eyes as well. And then along with things like vitamin C, vitamin E that are found in leafy greens, salmons, eggs, and citrus juices. So those are just some of the things that we can do to help alleviate that.
Yeah, I feel a lot of stress on my eyes, working from home more now. And so I can just imagine all the kids, with their demand on school, and then their fun is on the screen. So while we're working on improving our diet and getting the intake in, we still do know that kids don't want to eat everything that they need to, or maybe they don't eat enough of what they need to, right? Especially now, we're not just in maintenance mode, we're trying to combat the amount of screen time. And so we're all using the Isotonics DNA Vision formula for our children. You can see the comparison here because there's other vision formulas on the market. One of the main ingredients, patented ingredients, is FloraGlow. That is best in class, and it's used in the most clinical studies when it comes to lutein. Lutein is a carotenoid that's found in fruits and vegetables, which is why we need to eat those foods. And it's critical for protection on our eye strain. Also has bilberry extract in there. And so we want to think about eating more foods that are blues, reds, and purples, because scientific studies show a positive relationship with vision and vascular health with that classification of food. And then the carrot extract, or the beta carotene, we know helps healthy vision and healthy macular density in our eyes. And so the other thing that's most important too is there are no dyes, binders, fillers, or any artificial ingredients in the isotonic formula. It's even better than a liquid vitamin because it is absorbed directly into the cells in the body. And so your children will get the best results from this product.
Okay. So Suzanne just talked to you about our vision supplement there. Um, and so I just wanted to go into like the reasons behind why you want to avoid dyes and, those artificial colorings, artificial flavors, not only in foods, but also in, your kids' vitamins or, medicine, even like children's medicine has these dyes in there. Um, I still do not understand why companies continue to put all of these things in there when we know that they can cause negative health effects on our children. So if you look here, like you see red 40, red 3, yellow 5 is a big one. I remember when I was like a teenager, people would talk about yellow 5 and how much was in like Mountain Dew. And I remember people like, drinking it all the time because obviously, like, we didn't know better then, but we do now. Um, if you look at the facts about food dyes, we can see that it has increased fivefold in the United States since 1995. There are 9 food dyes that are approved by the FDA. Interesting fact, they are banned in other countries, especially in Europe, because research has shown and scientists understand now that these are not healthy for us. And there's really no reason for them to be in our food, especially for children. 43% of products marketed to kids have artificial dye. 43%. That's like, it's crazy. But if you walk up and down the cereal aisles, you'll see all of these things. Flip over, look at the labels, they're all in there. Even if you walk over to frozen waffles, like not too long ago, Eggo released, there was like princess and unicorn and, all these things. And I mean, they were as bright as these colors on my screen right now. And there's just no reason to put that in your children's food. There are many, many healthy alternatives. And honestly, like, these are ones that we really try to avoid if at all possible. So like I said, I just wanted to go over real quick, like what you should be looking for when you're looking at a kid vitamin. Sugar should be very, very limited, like 1 gram or less. You want the vitamins to be methylated. And if you look over to the side, you'll see a methylated vitamin is basically, it's taking a vitamin and breaking it down to the point to where your body can absorb it. So for instance, if you're taking a vitamin, this is one that you'll find in a lot of prenatal vitamins over the counter. It's folic acid. So your body has to take that folic acid, then it has to convert it to methylfolate. And at that point, your body is going to do another step to L-methylfolate. And we know that that's critical because that's the only one that can cross that blood-brain barrier. So we know that that one is going to be absorbed at its highest. You like gummy candy, the particles of gummy vitamins can get stuck to your kids' teeth. Suzanne mentioned the dentist earlier and just the rise in tooth decay from children. So real quick, a like story that I have. My son is 5. Okay, he has 2 older sisters. They've always had like 100% great dental checkups like their whole lives. I took him in for his checkup at 3 and then 6 months later, and his dentist said, there is a drastic change here. Like, I'm starting to see like little spots of decay all over his teeth. And she said, what vitamins do you give him? And I said, well, the gummy ones, from Costco. This is a few years ago. And she said, yeah, go home and throw them out. She said, they are the worst things that you can buy for your children's teeth. They said that when they eat them, they actually coat your children's teeth with sugar. So she was very adamant that we find some sort of chewable, which leads me to the next slide. So I went to the store tried to find a chewable kids vitamin. Guess what the only thing I can find was? Flintstones, good old Flintstones, which we had when we were kids. But if you go down and you look at the ingredients there, you see aspartame, which is a fake sugar. It's an artificial sweetener. And if you look at studies between aspartame and gut health or aspartame and health in general, you can understand why you never want to put it in your body, much less your children's body. You can see right there, red 40, blue 2, there's your dye, aluminum, heavy metals. So all of these things are in a children's vitamin. So then you have to ask yourself, well, is this really benefiting my child, giving them, all of these toxins? Something that is a much, much better alternative, and these are the ones that my kids take, would be the DNA chewables. So you can see that they have a few more vitamins and minerals than the Flintstones. But if you also, the most important thing that I want to highlight here is if you look at the other ingredients, first of all, you can pronounce most of them, right? And they're all natural. You see beet juice for color instead of red 40. You see monk fruit instead of aspartame. So, look at those ingredients and make sure that your children are getting what they need and not what they don't. We also have a isotonics version of our multivitamin, which is a little drink just like the Vision formula. It has all of the same things in there. It also has a little bit of probiotics. Speaking of probiotics, so every superhero needs a sidekick. I'm sure you've heard, probiotics talked about in the news and the media, all over Facebook. Maybe your doctor has mentioned probiotics to you. But I feel like probiotics for children is something that is emerging. It's not quite mainstream yet, but if we look at the benefits here, it supports a healthy digestive system, supports a healthy gastrointestinal tract, it supports your immune system, and it also supports your teeth. So I feel like I could probably spend an hour on the benefits of probiotics, especially with gut health and kids. It is just such an interesting topic. But one of the things that you should look for in a children's probiotic, it doesn't matter if you have like 10 billion cultures in there or 150 billion, some ridiculously high number on the bottle. That doesn't matter. You want to look at variety. You want to make sure that you have different varieties of probiotics to put into your system, either yours or your children. And the reason is, if you think about a garden and you're growing vegetables, would you only grow one vegetable in that garden? No, you would want different vegetables because you know that those different vegetables give you different types of vitamins, give you different types of minerals, and they do different things for your body. And it's the same way with strains of probiotics. So as you can see, this one has 5 different strains. So it's really going to help your kids' gut garden grow.
Hey, Leanne, I have a question, and maybe, some other people might have the same question. Would you recommend, or do you give your kids the chewable probiotic daily? Or is this just something like when you notice that they're having some gut issues?
It's important to do it daily because, again, you can think about your children's body as, or their gut health as a garden. You're not just going to plant the seeds and then walk away. You want to keep nurturing it. You want to plant more. You want to make sure that you are continuing to build that garden, because you have both, good bacteria and bad bacteria in your gut. It's obviously important that you have more good than bad. And this is one way to keep that little garden stable and that little environment, to keep from going towards the bad, is by daily taking those and growing your garden. So
Yeah, thank you.
I love that question. And I love your excitement too, Leanne, about probiotics for adults and children alike. And so I feel like we're going to need another, maybe a Zoom meeting, right, with some interaction and Q&A on probiotics. Another thing, Heidi, too, with the probiotics, to add what Leanne has already said, is that we're doing so many things, as we know through this presentation, that are actually killing the good gut bacteria, right? And so that's why we want to think about it daily. Stress is killing off our gut bacteria. Sugar kills off our gut bacteria. So we're working on just creating a balanced, healthy lifestyle, right? And mitigating the negative impacts of some of the choices that we're making. And so when it comes to our kids' health today, another topic of discussion or nutrient that you might want to think about and put at a high level is omega-3 fatty acids. So we know that the American diet consumes more pro-inflammatory omega-6s and not enough. So the ratio is backwards from 3 and 6, right? We need to flop that around. We know that healthy omega-3 fatty acids start before conception, are essential during conception, and are essential for the mother and the children after the baby is born, one, because of our brain health. And so we want to think about getting at least 1 gram of omega-3 fatty acids into our diet daily. And the EPA and the DHA, as you can see here on this chart, are also another factor to look at. So we know that healthy levels of EPA and DHA are linked to promising results in weight management for children and adults alike, cognitive function, right? And our children are thinking so much now on the computers, or just they're stressed about school if they're physically there. And so studies show that omega-3 fatty acids also help with stress and anxiety, not to mention cognitive function, right? And memory retention and growth and development of the brain. Omega-3 fatty acids are also linked to lowering inflammation in the body, specifically in the brain and throughout the body. Our kids, so Tyler is 10, so he's trying to move into adult vitamins, right? He wants to take those big fish oils that we take, but that's because we take them, right? He wants to be like us. And but the younger one still loves this DNA Miracles. It's in a bottle. I should have gotten it out, but it's a gel. And she used to call it her yogurt when she was a baby. And she still loves it now. She says it tastes like sweet bananas. And so it doesn't have that fishy taste, but how can we get these omega-3s if we're not eating salmon and high nut and seed and egg yolk contents in our diet? We want to think about supplementing with omega-3 fatty acids. And another thing that you can do for yourself too, I wanted to mention as far as omega-3 fatty acids, as an adult, if you are taking the gel caps, to see if you have quality, you first have to read the label, of course, right? And then the sourcing of that. But a quick and easy thing that you can do is put your omega gel cap in the freezer. Check it 24 hours later. If it crystallizes or freezes, you have water in your supplement because oil doesn't freeze. And so that's a simple, quick trick to see if you have quality fatty acids that you are consuming. So we can talk more about these if you have any questions. So we'd like to invite you to join our free holiday support group. It's called Holiday Hacks, or there's...
I love that you call it a support group.
Yeah, well,
we all need help at the holidays.
We do. I mean, as much as I would love for it to be joyful and exciting for everybody. Hopefully we experience those moments, but it's also stressful, right? Even if it's a good stress, like the in-laws are coming over, or maybe you have to bake one more pie, or you have to run to the store, or you need somebody to watch your kids, but so yeah, we've got Q&A in here. We've got some great recipes, healthy recipe swaps, because we're going to eat those sweet treats or those salty or fatty foods, but how can we make them healthy? So yeah, there's so much great information in that group. And you can find the links to our other educational series that we're doing. So many topics that we're covering. So we'd love to have you guys check those out and join our group. So thanks for joining us today, you guys. Have a great day.